Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this year's edition of Candidates Forum, organized by the History and Political Science Department of Albany State University. As we gather here to listen to the present and future leaders of this great city of ours, we are reminded this country against any and all external, As we gather here to listen to the present and future leaders of this great country, we are reminded by the words of the former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Tip O'Neill, that all politics is local. Living in a federal system of government, Americans expect our national government to defend this country against any and all external enemies, regulate interstate commerce and trade with foreign countries, provide a reliable postal system, and provide and maintain our interstate highways, among other things. But we equally rely on our state and local government to provide us with the other important needs required for our daily survival and well-being. We know that the burden of ensuring effective education for our children, reliable power supply, water, sewage and garbage collection, citizens' health and safety needs, elections, and police protection all rest squarely on the shoulders of our local government. We are gathered here this afternoon to listen and interact with the candidates seated that come election day, Tuesday, November 3rd, we all will be better informed to vote for the person or group of people most capable of leading our great city. Again, on behalf of the unsinkable Albany State University, I thank you all for coming. At this stage, I hand over to Mr. Kyle Brown to introduce the moderators for this forum.
Good evening, everyone. In the words of Dr. Mae Jemison, never be lifted by others' people's limited imaginations has always been the driving force for Alicia Hargrove's drive and ambition to be successful and help others. Born and raised in a very small town of Milledgeville, Georgia, Miss Alicia N. Hargrove would become the first in her family to attend law school and to become an attorney. Ms. Hargrove is currently an assistant circuit public defender within the Southern Judicial Circuit. Her office is located in Colquitt County, Georgia. In this capacity, she handles several felony cases within the Superior Court and cases within the juvenile court system. Ms. Hargrove has also been appointed as the drug court liaison for Colquitt County. Before joining the office of the Public Defender Southern Judicial Circuit, Ms. Hargrove served as an administrative hearing officer for the Department of Labor and presided over several hearings concerning labor issues. She graduated from the Albany State University with honors in 2003 with a bachelor's degree in political science. She later received her law degree from Shepherd Broad School of Law at Nova Southeastern University in 2007 and completed her LLM in Federal Criminal Practice and Procedure from the Walter F. George School of Law at Mercer University in 2014. Ms. Hargrove is a member of the Florida Bar and an active member of the Georgia Bar. Along with Ms. Hargrove's license to practice law in both Georgia and Florida, she is also a certified neutral for the state of Georgia. Alicia Hargrove is a leader in her profession and very actively engaged in her community. She is currently on the executive council with the State Bar of Georgia Young Lawyers Division, and she is an active member with the Albany affiliate of Young Lawyers Division. Ms. Hargrove also serves on the board of two nonprofit organizations, Straight Street Ministries and MIA Inc. in Milledgeville, Georgia, that provide much-needed resources to people within the community. Ms. Hargrove enjoys volunteering and pouring back into her community. That has given so much to her because she agrees wholeheartedly with the words of Shirley Chisholm, who often said that service is the rent that you pay for your room on this earth. Please join me in welcoming Attorney Alicia Hargrove.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. As the moderator for today, there are a couple of housekeeping rules that we have to abide by and go over before we proceed with this forum. However, first and foremost, I would like to cover the role of mayor. As you know, we have the mayoral election that is coming up, and I really want to encourage everyone to vote and exercise their power in this particular election period. Now, the role of the mayor is the highest office here in Albany, the highest elective office here in Albany, Georgia. Now, the mayor here is elected to a term of 4 years, presides over the city commissioners or commission at both their legislative and executive meetings. And additionally, the mayor also has an important role for providing leadership, promoting positive relationships, and modeling good governance here in Dougherty County. Now, the other election that will take place as well is also the Board of Commissioners, the City Commissioners election. Today you will hear from candidates from both the mayor's race and also the City Commissioners race. Now, the role of a commissioner here in Albany or Dougherty County, they're made up of 6 elected commissioners and a mayor. The commissioner sets city policy, passes ordinances and resolution, and raises revenue. Now, although the mayor is elected at large from all the citizens here in Dougherty County, a commissioner is elected by those who are specifically in their ward. And that's why we are here today, so you can hear both their platform and also their plans as the elected official if they are elected in this upcoming race. But before we begin, as I stated earlier, there will be some housekeeping rules. And some of those rules regards to or in reference to our debate or forum for tonight. First and foremost, the candidates will be given a 5-minute period to make their platform and also provide their introduction. They will also be given 2 minutes to answer the question that will be asked from the audience for today's forum. Additionally, they will be given 2 minutes for rebuttal as well. Also, each side, starting first with the mayoral race, will be given 20 minutes to complete all Q&A. However, we are flexible tonight because I understand that there is some huge concerns that a lot of the citizens here may want to address or even ask the candidates in their position. So we will be flexible if needed. And at this particular time, we have a timekeeper, Ms. Harris. Please stand up. Okay. Ms. Harris will be our timekeeper for today. She will hold up a green placard, a green piece of paper actually. And the green piece of paper will stand for the end of the 20-minute session for both sides. So the mayoral candidates will get 20 minutes and the city commissioners will receive 20 minutes as a whole, okay? The yellow placard, the yellow slip, okay, that is for minute remaining for the 2-minute period that will be given to each candidate to respond to a question or to respond to a rebuttal or to have a rebuttal, okay? And the red plaque, the red card will be stop, okay? So at this particular time, please follow the instructions. And at this time, I would like to request that the candidates for the mayoral race please approach the stage. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. First and foremost, before we begin, I absolutely want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. And we, on behalf of Albany State University, appreciate your ability, your accessibility in speaking to the audience and the citizens here tonight with concerns or questions that they may have. At this particular time, I would like to begin with the current mayor, the incumbent, Dougherty Hubbard. Could you please stand at this particular time and introduce yourself or give your introduction platform? Yeah, yes, ma'am. Whichever way is comfortable for you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Dougherty Hubbard, and I am your current mayor. I want to thank all of you for being here this evening, and I want to thank those who have organized this forum in order for us to come out and be able to share information with you. First of all, I want to let you all know that I have been in office since I was actually elected on December 6th of 2011 and sworn in on January 9th, 2012. I started this journey by going around to neighborhoods and to businesses talking about the needs of Albany, Georgia. And as I went around the neighborhoods and talked to businessmen and women, I developed a platform from that. We came up with 4 items that we wanted to work on in the next 4 years. Those 4 items were education, crime, economic development, and elimination of blighted properties. First of all, in terms of education, the City Commission has really no control over public education in any way. The state of Georgia authorizes the school board to be in charge of education. So the City Commission actually has no jurisdiction over public education in the state of Georgia. So what we have done in order to improve education is we worked with the educational leaders, the leaders in the K through 12, as well as leaders of the Dougherty State College, Albany Technical College, Albany State, and Albany Turner Job Corps. And so we've spent our time working with them. We've been to every school except 2 in the system. We've attended programs and events at Albany State and Dougherty, as well as Albany Tech. We, under economic development, we have worked with all of the key officials in order to improve economic development. You all know that Economic Development Commission has responsibility for helping us to get jobs in, and I can say to you that your mayor has been actively involved in that process with the Economic Development Commission. Every time that they've called me and asked me, we've met with prospects, we've been to Atlanta to talk about economic development in our area. Also, we talked about about crime. Crime and public safety is a concern throughout the state of Georgia and even in the United States. We have worked very hard to make our public safe. We have a police department that we work with that we have tried to give them everything that they needed in order to be successful in fighting crime. They have just recently been given a raise, the first time in since 2008. That we think will help us to keep them here. It will help us to be able to train more officers and have them stay with us longer. Whenever you have changes in a department like that, then you have trained a lot of people. You've lost a lot of money because you've trained people for them to leave. So we are working with them. We've given them the technology, and right now we are looking at body cameras for our police department. All these things cost a lot of money, and we are certainly working to try to get them at a reasonable rate. In terms of downtown development, and these are things that we will continue to work on, those 4 items that we had initially. We want to talk about downtown development. We have a new city manager who is really interested in developing downtown. We want to see more students, more young professionals, more doctors, lawyers, health care professionals living downtown. So we have put out several RFPs to get developers to build downtown so that we can improve downtown. We think that downtown would be an enticement to businesses and industry, and it would create a quality of life environment. We also have the rails to trails that is being developed. That will help us to get more tourists in, and also be able to provide telecom and gas in the northwest section. We have just today laid out a plan to have a pool in East Albany. That pool and splash park, as well as the renovation of Thornton Gym, will provide an opportunity for our young people to be able to learn how to swim and have recreational activities in East Albany, as well as all over the city. The Boys and Girls Club has formed a collaborative partnership with us, and they will be running the pool on our behalf. And we've also talked about rails to trails, and we think that that is going to be a real tourist attraction. So we are looking forward to working with you all for the next 4 years.
Thank you so much, Mayor Hubbard. At this particular time, we would like to hear for the candidate, Mr. Lane Rosen.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Everybody caught up from that big homecoming week last week? Yeah. Anyhow, I'm a citizen like you. I'm compelled to action because I'm worried about the direction of our city, and I think there could be lots of improvements, and the hard work needs to get redirected into other areas. I was raised by a single mother my whole childhood. I didn't meet my father until I was 10. And we grew up in apartments, my brother and I. So, you know, I know the pride of home ownership and what that can do for children, for families, households. I also know how hard that is on the families with single incomes coming in. I'm the 5th generation Albanian. I'm raising my child here as the 6th generation, so I'm not going anywhere. So I need to try to help improve the town I live in for myself, my family, and all of us. My family has been in continuous business here in Albany, and specifically downtown, for over 120 years. And for the past 20 years myself, I've purchased and sold over 75 pieces of real estate. One of them is the State Theater I acquired 12 years ago and still manage that actively today. But all that doesn't get me a cup of coffee with this leadership. I feel greatly ignored, and that's why I'm here running for mayor, to take it to the top and try to do the things that I've heard all of you say and complain about for the last 12 years since I've been really active in the community. You know, I'm running for mayor so I can introduce legislation to lower these outrageous power bills that are breaking the potential of this community. You know, traditionally government raises funding from taxing property owners, but this government has gone far abreast of that, and they're raising taxes off the backs of all of us, a backdoor tax with our utility bills, and there's really no end in sight. You know, they've also raised all the fees across the board. Every city service costs more money now, you know, especially youth sports and recreation. And the kids are being priced out of youth sports and recreation. They're being sent into the streets. You know, given the crime and the poverty rates that we have here in Albany, Georgia, double the national average, and worse among the African-American community, raising fees on childhood recreation is the last thing we need to do, and this is the last time we need to do it, the worst of times to do it. I'm running for mayor so I can introduce legislation of a very innovative home ownership plan that I've been doing in my own private business for several years now. It would turn Albany from a 65% renters market into a 65% homeowners community. As I said earlier, I know the pride and just all the benefits that home ownership brings. You know, people will be building wealth. Households will be getting stronger. And, you know, with the $200 million that's been wasted downtown, we hear so much talk about it, so much talk. For 12 years, I've just watched it flow down the river. And for that $200 million, I mean, we could have bought over 20,000 homes and just given them away. Now, I don't think it's the role of government, and any government would be allowed to do that, but I certainly think it would be a much better use of our taxpayers' money. We'd have a lot more to show for it, an incredible community story that would be heard around the country, if not farther. Finally, I'm running for mayor with the promise to beg, borrow, and bargain for new industries to come here. You know, real jobs, not dollar store jobs that pay dollar store wages. 12 years ago when I opened the State Theater, there was a park that was built down here, a river trail was paved, and there was an aquarium under construction. Merck Chemical still had hundreds of employees, and so did Cooper Tire. But in the last 10 years, we've lost those jobs, and the development has become stagnant. But as bad as I see things now, I'm here to tell you, this town has tremendous potential, and I truly believe it. With the right vision and the right leadership, we can really grow. We've got a lot going for us, resources. We used to have affordable power. That would be attractive to industries. We certainly have empty buildings for industry to move into. But I believe I've exhibited leadership, and I've exhibited a concern for this community. And I know I'm up to the job, and so I'm asking for your vote on November 3rd for mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosen. At this time, we would now like to hear from Mr. Tracy Taylor.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tracy Taylor, and I am running for mayor. My main focal point is the economy and keeping people safe, and also addressing the utility issue as well. In August, it was reported that Albany unemployment rate was 7.4%, and roughly 4,682 residents out of job. Over the year, Albany lost 700 jobs. Recently, we downsized our workforce by 230 employees. I know there are tough decisions need to be made to balance the budget, but when there's a plan in place to shrink our workforce down by 230 employees, I think there need to be a plan to at least put 200 residents back to work. As city mayor, I will be a strong advocate for industries. I would offer many tax incentives, property tax incentives, utility incentives to companies that are willing to hire citizens within our county. I would be more willing to do whatever it takes to work with the EDC president to bring more jobs to Albany, Georgia. Not only that, I also believe in regionalism. I believe in the practice of regional rather than central system administration of economic, cultural, and political affiliation. By strengthening up our affiliation with neighboring counties and political powers within our region, that will benefit local population by improving regional and local economies in terms of better fiscal responsibility, regional development, and abundance of resource. Now, for example, if I'm in a meeting and I can't land a company or industry here in Dougherty County, I'll suggest put it in Terry County, or I'll suggest put it in Lee County, because I know that at least give our residents a fighting chance to be able to obtain some of those jobs. If we land a corporation like in the middle of Dougherty County and Terry County and need up to 300 or 400 workers, I know at least 150 or 200 workers will come from Dougherty County, because a lot of counties, surrounding counties, commute back and forth and take our jobs every day. So if we're not able to bring jobs here, we should be a strong advocate to at least bring them in this region. So that's what I believe in regionalism. Not only that, I feel like that we need to be the more powerhouse in this region. We need to have our fingerprints on things that dealing with jobs that dealing with manufacturing, trade, agriculture, clean renewable energy. We need to be the leading force to have our fingerprints on all of those entities that surround in our region. Community policing. I'm also big on community policing. I feel like that we need to have a better relationship with our current police department and the community as well. When officers are out patrolling their beats, they should take the time to get to know the individuals in the community, get to know a group of young men walking down the street. Get out the car and talk to them, mentor them, ask them do they need any help or any guidance in the community. That can be a strong way to deter young men away from crime too as well, rather than just getting to know them by apprehending a suspect or so on, then try to mentor that individual once he been part of the system. We need to try to intervene now and find ways to use our police department to use that. Truancy. History shows that a direct relationship between truancy and criminal activity off campus during school hours, and some law enforcement departments and investigators made daily visits to local middle schools and high school and obtained a list of absentees for that day. That gave officers a source for suspects in the daytime, residential burglaries, and various other related crimes. These are two simple points that we can use to try to tackle on truancy and other crime-related areas in our city. And once again, my name is Tracy Taylor, and these are the things that I stand for and believe in. And if I feel, or if I sound like a strong candidate that touches bases on some of you all issues, meet me at the polls November 3rd.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. Now, at this time, before we proceed with the question and answer section, I would like to inform all people in the audience that we have 2 microphones here up front. If you would like to ask your question to either of the candidates or all of the candidates, please come to the front and you can speak into the microphone. Please speak up clearly and loudly so that they can understand and hear your question. Additionally, if you do not wish to come up front to speak into the microphone, we also have student volunteers on each side or throughout the entire audience who have sticky notes that you can write your questions on, and they can hand it to me in order for me to ask the question on your behalf. If there is some discrepancy with your question, if I ask it incorrectly, please advise me and I will make the necessary corrections. Okay? So at this particular time, I would like to take a look at my timekeeper, and at the time when she's ready to proceed with, because again, there's a 20-minute period for each forum, starting with the mayoral race, 20 minutes. So at this particular time, once my timekeeper notified me she's ready to begin, we shall begin with the question and answer session. Good, okay. At this time, if you have any questions, please proceed to the microphone up front.
Hey, I'm Mary right now, and my question is, this thing ain't on. Yeah, my question is to Ms. Hubbard. We voted you in for 6 years as city commissioner, and I live in East Albany, everybody, and we gave you 4 more years, and after the fight, you done been there this long, 10 years, you haven't did anything for East Albany since I've been, in Albany. So my question is, what is you gonna do this time? Because I need to know, and I want everybody to hear, because see, all the money
at this time, we're now going to give the candidate the opportunity to respond to the question, ma'am.
That's just one now, because
I understand, but we're going to give her the opportunity to respond.
Go ahead.
You may proceed, Ms. Hubbard.
All right, thank you. First of all, let me say that I was a commissioner for Ward 2, and yes, I think I've done quite a bit for East Albany as well as for the entire city. If you will remember those speed bumps that were in Don Cutler, I was responsible, along with the city commission, with getting those placed on Don Cutler Drive. We have have worked with the railroad and with the other city commissioners to get the railroads repaired in East Albany. There have been some roads over there, Broad Avenue is one example, that have been resurfaced. The underpass, I asked the staff to get the railroad companies in, and we redid the underpass with collaboration and a memorandum of understanding with the railroad. And now that the new lighting and new mural and resurfacing has been done on the railroad track. Today we laid out the plan for a new swimming pool. in East Albany that's going to be done at Thornton Gym. Thornton Gym, that's a part of our SPLOS project. There'll be a splash park, a swimming pool, as well as a renovation of Thornton's Gym.
Okay, well, the swimming pool was supposed to be in Heath Park over on Maple. But anyway, now, I live in East Albany, and I work.
Do you vote in East Albany?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a citizen and I vote. Okay. But the only thing that I'm saying now is Ms. Hubbard.
Okay, I'm now going to interject because at this particular time, we're only allowing questions.
Well,
you may proceed with your question. I understand. You may proceed with the question.
Finish first and then you'll see.
I understand.
Okay, now if you be voted in for mayor this time, I want to see what you're going to do. I want to be right there holding your hand because guess what? I know what I see and I know what I don't see. Now that's my answer.
Thank you so much, ma'am. At this time, will the next person please approach?
Thank you for being here today because I don't really know anything about any of you guys, so I'm really interested. I keep hearing about economic development. I keep hearing about these visions, but I'm not hearing exact, what have you done, Dorothy? And for you guys, what is your actual thought process? I think vision's great, but I want to know, how are you going to bring more jobs here? How are you going to build up our community? I don't think we need another swimming pool. I think we need to revitalize downtown. Why am I driving to Thomasville to have a good time? What are you guys going to do for the city, economic-wise?
2 minutes per candidate. You may proceed.
Okay. First thing is we have, in terms of downtown redevelopment, we have a plan in place, and our new city manager is into downtown redevelopment. We have purchased some of the properties, and we have public-private partnerships that are going on. We have, as I said before, put out RFPs to have some loft apartments and other development occur downtown. What we know is that once you get feet on the street, based on the data from other cities that have done downtown development, once you get feet on the street, other things will come. Like other retail businesses and that kind of thing. But we have the plan in place where we will be in public-private partnership and putting the money up with the private investors in order to revitalize downtown and bring some of those things in. We are hoping that our students, our young professionals, our young doctors, lawyers, and all will live in the loft apartments, and there will be that need for the other businesses that would come downtown.
All right, great. I love this question because this is where my strategy is very much different, and over the last 10 years been completely different than the current leadership, and that's Attica leadership, the city commission leadership, and the mayor's leadership. I'm a doer. I've put my money where my mouth is. 12 years ago, there was a tremendous plan in place. The ground was being broken, as I said in my opening statements. An aquarium was being built. It was, the goal was to attract people downtown, to attract visitors to Albany. That's the goal of any economic development, to attract things here, attract businesses, attract tourism. So that plan, that visionary plan, attracted me to go looking into old buildings downtown, and that's when I decided to buy and renovate the State Theater. I bet my own money and put everything on the line in thankfully, a business decision that's working out. My success there is in spite of the leadership, not because of the leadership. We want to attract businesses. We want to attract people downtown. Housing is not an attraction. Attractions are attractions. I painstakingly developed a plan to develop the whole East Bank with entertainment facilities, ropes, swings, things like at Stone Mountain, a wonderful facility. I was shot down twice. I've been shot down 3 times to join the Attica board. And, you know, I don't really believe they want the private partnership when we always hear public-private partnership, public-private partnership. I had private money. I was kept out of the process, so that's why I'm running, to be the voice of every man and to let the little guy have a voice.
Okay. Well, my plan is, I'm a strong advocate for jobs. We need more jobs here. If we had more citizens that had a steady income, we'll have a bigger SPLOT program. We'll collect more taxes. 80% of our revenue come in on the backs of property owners, sale taxes, and et cetera. So when you say, you know, attract more businesses here to Dougherty County, we need more jobs. I go to neighboring states. I go to Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, even out of the country, try to bring big businesses here. I would try to do my best to offer incentives to those businesses that who want to stay here and want to hire. You know, try to get them some type of utility break that want to stay here. Back in 2008, I think we was at our peak with like 70-something jobs, well, over 70-something jobs. Now we down to like 60 jobs when we got like about 77, 76 residents here in Dougherty County. Statistics say that, you know, close to 5,000 out of work. Well, you do the math, it's probably about 12, 13,000 people that's out of work. We need more jobs. If we did it back then with Cooper Tire, Merck, Firestone, and so on, we can do it now and give this generation a fighting chance and hope to buy more houses and put more into the economy, send their kids off to college. So that's my plan.
Thank you.
Is this an opportunity to say rebuttal or whatever?
We will provide rebuttal. However, all candidates will be given additional 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Starting now?
Starting now.
Okay. I want to say that I am not familiar with any plan that has been presented to the City Commission that dealt with downtown development or public-private partnership by my opponent. I've heard him say that, but and I don't remember ever voting against him for Attica, you know. But I hear him saying those things, and I'm not familiar with any proposal written or presented or otherwise that he has presented that would suggest that we need to allow him an opportunity to build a public-private partnership.
Thank you. At this time, you may respond at this moment, sir.
I mean, it's your job as a leader to understand that I did put together those proposals. B.J. Fletcher's right here. She knows my struggles to get on the Attica board. In fact, she told me one time I had the votes to get on the board. Two of your downtown managers both courted me and said, well, let's see your plan. You know, I was shot down to purchase the skate park the first time. It was in all the newspaper 3-4 times. I'm known as the skate park
So are
guy.
you suggesting that you did
at this particular time,
Yeah, if I could finish
to
my-
Attica?
at this particular time, the moderator is now speaking. This particular time, the moderator is now speaking. At this time, all candidates will have the opportunity to complete their statement before a response is warranted. Thank you. You may proceed.
So claiming not to know about what's going on in the town is not really a way out of this. I mean, then Aaron Blair was hired. He said, Lane, I understand that things went bad for you the first time trying to get it on the Attica board with a good plan. Would you revive that plan and present it to us? I went back to the commission a second time and offered in an open meeting to pay $40,000 for the skate park. And those efforts were shot down.
Thank you.
And I think it's being leased for $1 a month.
Thank you. At this time, Ms. Hubbard, you may respond.
Okay. See, there's a difference in Attica and the City Commission. There has not been a plan presented to the City Commission. We have not acted on, and it has not been, nothing has been presented to us on the skate park. Those are two different entities. And so you've got to understand how the government works. That is not how it works. And I'm saying to you that no plan has been presented to your mayor and to the City Commission. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Taylor, would you like to respond to the issues presented at this time?
No, I think they're doing a very good job.
Thank you. At this time, we are now going to proceed to our audience question. You may proceed, sir.
I don't have a dog in
Good
that fight.
afternoon. I'd like to pose 2 questions, if I may.
You may proceed,
Okay.
sir.
First, why should we trust any of you? Number one. Right. Secondly, what do you think would be the number one thing, plan, program, etc., that would help the poor rise out of poverty? Could we address that, all three? Could all three address that question?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. At this time,
The first question was, what was your first question?
could you please repeat your question, sir? Yes, sir.
Why should we trust any of you?
Okay. Okay, I think that I am trustworthy. I have done what I said I was going to do during my first term in office. I have worked above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that the things that I said were going to be done and the things that I promised this community that I was going to do, that I could do. Government cannot do it all. I promised to work with others in order to get these things done. And the second part was,
what do you think would be?
We'll work together. I think that there are going to have to be some initiatives that would help us to educate people in order to help to bring them out of poverty, to teach them some things. There are programs like Strive to Thrive. We as a community are going to have to get behind those kinds of programs and support them in order to help teach our young people and all of the people who are in poverty, who have issues of poverty, to get out of poverty. I am a product of poverty, and I'm an example that it can be done.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Rosen.
Well, you know, as a business person, I usually turn off my the sales pitch guy or the salesman when he says, "Trust me." I don't like anybody. You shouldn't have to say "trust me." It should be shown by your actions. And with an incumbent administrator, not specifically the mayor, but the government, the workers, the work she's done, it speaks for itself. So, you know, you can see what you get. Poverty is still twice the national average in Albany. Unemployment is just as high. And these issues just have not been addressed, whether they've been attempted or not attempted. But I think that's going to be the best thing I do as mayor is I want from the heart. Albany's biggest problem is the tremendous poverty and the weight of that. And I, too, come from that. You know, being with a single parent and a father who hid from child support for most of my child life. But, and my heart's in that. And that's where I want the most measurable success is to tackle this poverty, reducing these tremendous power bills and not making money off the backs of the citizens, no matter how much they cut back, is my first and the easiest way to do that. But the home ownership program that I love to have more time to discuss with everybody, that certainly builds wealth. It's been the source of my wealth, owning property. And for the partners in my rental properties with me, they have built wealth and they have better kids and better families to show for it. And I can give this to the whole community.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Taylor.
Okay, like you say, trust. I would hope you trust in God first. But the far let leadership, you know, rest on my shoulders, I think I'm a trustworthy enough candidate to lead the city in the right direction. You know, I get up, I go to work every day. I work for Affordable Dentures. I'm a full-time dental assistant. As well, you know that I serve intern vice president with the local NAACP chapter. I'm out here in the community. I'm still a student at Albany Tech. I walk with the coming man. I know the struggle. I know the burdens. With that said, like I was saying about poverty and the unemployment rate, we need jobs. We need jobs, and that's the only way that we're gonna sustain our economy, by bringing jobs. People need to go to work. I mean, if you're not working, of course, you're gonna be a poor man. You know, all these jobs that we have around here, PMG. Marine Base, Miller, all those jobs are locked down, and nobody's getting into those jobs unless people are retiring and moving out the way. So we need more jobs, more competition, more competitive jobs in this region, and I intend to do that. I tend to be a strong advocate to bring big businesses here from other neighboring states. Did that answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Well, I guess I was looking for a plan, but you know,
well,
I was looking for some type of plan, maybe a strategic plan. Okay.
I'll talk to you.
Okay. At this time, ma'am, you may proceed with your question.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for all of you being here today. I'd like to direct a question to each of you as candidates. To Mayor Hubbard, thank you for your leadership. I'd like to ask, what is it that you can do or will be doing if you're reelected for the high utility bill? For Mr. Rosen, I'd like to ask you, what is your plan to address the high utility bill, and in your rental properties, have you transitioned anyone or given them the opportunity for home ownership? And for Mr. Taylor, I'd like to ask you, what is your insight and your experience for economic development for both a local community and regional? So.
Thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Hubbard.
Okay, we will acknowledge that our utility bills are high, but our utility bills are not as high as many in this state. We are currently looking at the needs of the utility. We are going to assess our debt. We will assess the things that we left undone, the things that we delayed buying, and all of the other things, the supplies and all that we delayed buying for the last 3 years. We'll assess that, and then we will determine how we can reduce those bills. Understand that the city of Albany does not make electricity. We have a conglomerate of services under the utilities, but we buy utilities and buy electricity rather from MEAG Power. And so when MEAG Power goes up, then we have a small percentage of profit, and we go up accordingly. But I have in mind ways that we will work toward decreasing utility bills for the next 4 years.
I would proceed with an additional 2 minutes for rebuttal for the next Q&A.
I just want to ask, I understand that we have an excess of funds
yes,
with the...
and that's what we would do. Once we have determined what we need to do, the things we need. Today, I think we spent $612,000 of those dollars in things that had been delayed. So we will be looking at what is left after, though everything has been bought, and then we will make some decision about how we can reduce utility bills.
So possibly a rate reduction or adjustment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You may proceed, Mr. Rosen.
That's news. I mean, the mayor cannot sit here and say that. The mayor has shown us her plan. Her plan under her leadership and under this leadership, they have executed the plan and they have succeeded. They said it is a good year and it is working for them. They did a hostile takeover of water, gas, and light. They took
At this
control
particular time, I am going to interject due to the fact that there was a question directly at you, Mr. Rosen.
Okay, well, I mean, I've certainly, unlike the current leadership, planned to reduce the bills instead of raise them, as have been done and proven to all of us. I want to reduce the 7 cents per kilowatt hour that most of us pay. And believe me, it's hard to find that figure because they float these things and there's an average of this and then your highest payment, and you know, they want it to be difficult. But I propose to reduce the kilowatts from 7 cents down to 5 cents. I understand that MEAG produces the power, but they sell it to us for wholesale. I don't know that they've gone up 20% on their wholesale price. I think that's a better question for this administration because our bills have gone up 20%, but has MEAG raised it 20%? Now, we can easily reduce the rates that we pay for water and for sewer. We do produce that here locally, and if Albany's rich in one thing, we are the artesian city. Water bubbles up from the ground, and we're making a tremendous profit off of flushing toilets in Albany, Georgia. And I would cut the sewage rate. I would eliminate the stormwater tax, which when the good Lord rains on our houses, we have to pay the piper of water, gas, and light in this city commission.
Okay, and the second question to you was, you are now renting properties, you're a property owner that rent. Have you transitioned or given the opportunity to any of those renters the opportunity to purchase, since you talked about 65% home ownership?
Oh yeah, no, that's my whole plan, is anybody who's willing to take it, you know, and I have several people who are active now. One family's 8 years into the program. They have about 9 more years left to pay for their house. They have built wealth. They don't walk away from the house. They have actually paid to improve the house. They've been there for 8 years. Their family has grown. They have a sense of pride in the community. There's not one piece of trash in their yard, and the mayor hasn't had to go pick it up because they have pride in their home ownership and their piece of property, their piece of the world. So, and I have a gentleman who recently paid for his house, and thanks me because I did see him through hard times. He did do a job transition and said, please wait till my taxes come back in February. Mm-hmm. And I was able to understand that and work with him, not just throw him out in the street. So, and I wish he was here today because he would hug me and invite me in as a member of his family for what I've done for his family.
I wish he was here too. I'd like
At
to
this
see him.
particular time, we're now going to proceed.
Mayor, and a list of several others, I promise.
At this time, we're now going to proceed with the response by Mr. Taylor. Thank you. Mr. Taylor, you may proceed.
My question was, what insight or experience do you have for economic development locally and regionally? Because you're a strong advocate for jobs. So I'd like to know, beyond being an advocate, what experience or insight do you have to bring meaningful, gainful employment to our community?
Well, actually my best friend, he's the mayor of Dawson, Georgia, in the neighboring county, and we sit down and we strategize, talk about how to bring more jobs in this area. And a lot of companies, they want a leader that's going to be able to sit down, talk to them, bipartisanship, you know, with probably non-party affiliation or bipartisanship, Democrat and Republican, to sit down at the table with local and elected leaders and community leaders and say, this is what we want in this city. And I believe I can bring the community and local leaders together and do a strong pitch and to advertise this city, why we want a corporation here that need 200 and 300 workers. Everybody say we need a ready workforce, but my argument is when, you know, Firestone, Cooper, Merck, all these companies here, you can't sit here and tell me everybody had a bachelor's degree working, everybody had a master's or associate degree working. Those were jobs that people walked on their job, created a skill, and started working right then and there, and seeing themselves stand on their job for 20, 30, 40 years and retire, buy homes, and put money back into the economy. So I'll be a strong advocate and be able to partner up with neighboring counties and neighboring mayors to bring a solution into this region. Like I said, I believe in regionalism. If I'm not able to bring a job here in Dougherty County, I will help be a strong advocate just to bring it in this region. That'll be one of the my main focal point of addressing that issue like that. I'm a young man, and you can give me a schedule book 7 days a week to sit down with different CEOs, different companies to do a pitch. You know, I'll pretty much be the face for Dougherty County and be able to offer some type of incentive for those companies.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. At this time, we're now going to proceed to our next question.
Rebuttal on this one. We don't have a chance.
At this time, I'm now reducing the time limit from 2 minutes to 1 minute. You may proceed with your rebuttal.
Okay, number one, stormwater is a mandate by the federal government that we have to do something for stormwater in X number of years. Stormwater was a mandate from the federal government. You can't eliminate that because you have to do what they say do. In terms of the home ownership, I heard Mr. Rosen say last week that he was charging 10%. I heard him also say something about taxes. The difference in what he does and what I do is everything that I do is open to the public and is scrutinized. He can charge folk, get their taxes, the federal income tax refunds as the down payment, and I'm told that a few months after that those people are out of there. He said Friday night that he charges 10% interest. Where on earth are you getting charged 10% interest these days? I don't think that's a good plan as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, you may respond at this particular time. 1 minute.
I mean, I'm laying it out for you. Just refuse to believe that it works and that there's happy people, and I'll be glad to give you a list of people who are very satisfied. Where do you pay 10% interest?
At this particular time, no interruption.
You pay 30% for your credit card. You pay over that for used cars that you're allowed to sell here all day long. There's payday lending that this city commission allows to proceed. You know, there's all kinds of ways that this community is ripped off, but it's not by me. And stormwater was built into the current bill. I'm told by very high officials at Water, Gas, and Light, we're being double billed for the stormwater. It's in the bill as mandated, but there is a special line item for it. And it's $2.50 today, so it doesn't seem like a lot, but it just appeared on your bills overnight, and that's just another way for a private piggy bank. They can raise it and raise it without any opposition whenever they need more money.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosen. At this time, Mr. Taylor, would you like to respond?
I really want to just address the utility issue. Am I able to do that? Or?
You may proceed with your response.
Yeah, you know, they say we had the lowest rates, you know, around $125.94 compared to $127 and something to kind of $133 in Mitchell MC and $137 for Georgia Power. You know, I've been trying to draft some type of proposal that we can be able to present it to the city commissioners, because the city has took over water, gas, and light, but I really want to see that power restored back to the utility board. I got a proposal that we can at least give our residents, you know, 2 months out the year, you know, that rate that they came up with, $125 a month, at least for November and December during the coldest times of the year. And I think that, you know, that at least, you know, offer our residents some type of relief if they have a fixed rate for 2 months.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. At this particular time, we're now going to proceed with the next audience question.
First of all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Like they got all the questions in I wanted to ask. But I've heard you comment on the economic problem that's going on in Albany. And I still haven't got it clear in my mind exactly what your county is going to do as far as building an economic here in Albany. I just hadn't got a clear-cut answer. You know how you ask a question and you, I wouldn't say beat around the bush, but can you give me a clear-cut how you would handle the economics here in Albany? Because like you say, we do need jobs in Albany.
Yeah.
And I know about campaign management, campaign promises that don't work. So could you give me in your mind a clear-cut answer for what you're going to do as far as economics here in Albany?
See, our economic development, community president is Justin Strickland. And, you know, as me as a city mayor, I'll be able to work with the president of the EDC to land jobs. Like I said, there are many incentives that you can offer a company to try to persuade them here. It's all about the game of persuasion. You know, it's give and take. You got to be able to offer something to a company to be able to allow them to stay here. And like I say, I'm willing to do that and work with that head, Mr. Justin Strickland, that's over the the EDC department. And, you know, even, you know, partnering up with, you know, Albany Tech. I feel like that certain industries like Miller or PMG will be able to donate or help fund some type of facility that'll add on to Albany Tech that strictly teaches courses that students can work and provide and be able to be already trained to be able to work those jobs. That'll be a plus.
Thank you. You may proceed at this time, Mr. Rosen.
Well, I think we have a tremendous opportunity there to attract businesses. We need to go farther outside the community. I think there's a big problem at the Chamber of Commerce and the EDC, the CVB. They were just in the Herald a couple weeks ago. They got poor grades for attracting visitors and tourism here. My idea is, you know, we have a tremendous amount of empty warehouses, unfortunately. I know with the SG Rita funding and the high-speed internet that's encircling Albany and the counties, we have an opportunity to bring telecommunication firms here specifically, like Teleperformance. I think they offer a decent living. You know, we like something better. I also think that, you know, both of these colleges here, and Anvo Tech School, Darton, ASU, and Albany Tech, we have tremendous nursing programs and educational programs. We could certainly, you know, work to get more medical jobs here, and those are high-quality jobs. I think that's a real area of focus, the medical profession, and just target some areas.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosen. You may proceed, Ms. Hubbard.
Okay, as you've heard, the EDC is the mechanism in our city that is used to help us to get jobs in. We, the City Commission, places people on the EDC as well as the county and as well as the Chamber. I have in the past 3.5 years worked with the EDC, and I understand the struggle that we have in getting jobs here in Albany. We have a number of prospects. We do have people coming in all the time that will talk with us about jobs. Every time I've been called as mayor, I have fulfilled my responsibility to be with them when they have talked with prospects, when they've asked me to. I can also tell you all that we have 4,000 jobs on the base. We have just met with the base commander, and we are working to keep the base here in Albany. We are working so that when the base realignment committee comes up, we will not be on that list as a Marine Corps. You have to also, it's an overall process. The biomass plant at Procter & Gamble that we worked very, very hard to make come to fruition has solidified P&G being here for another 30-some years. M&M Mars, and we also have a deal closing fund, and we have
at this particular time, Ms. Hubbard, thank you so much for your response. Yeah. We are now going to proceed with the next audience question.
Good evening, candidates. My name is Kyle Brown. I'm a 20-year-old political science major from Augusta, Georgia. And I had a question for all of you. I was told the other day that the average graduate student from Albany State makes $28,000, and this is including the students who are not able to find a job once they get out of college. So I want to know what you all would do as candidates and as a mayor to bring jobs to the city for college students. That way they don't feel as if they have to move back to Atlanta or move out of the state to actually get jobs. What will y'all actually do? Like, what's a plan that y'all will enact to make sure that college students are able to, you know, we have all these technical majors and all these things, but we want to know what y'all will be able to do so we'll be able to find jobs here in the city that we actually occupy for 4 years, or 6 if we go to grad school.
You know, like what we all just said, and like I just said, like working with the EDC and so on. But you know, like I say, to be the mayor, you know, you can be a strong advocate for jobs. For example, like you say, young college students, which I can really relate to. You know, manufacturing. You know, we key in on more manufacturing, more production jobs. For example, like a Simmons mattress company, Carolina Skill, manufacturing boats. You know, like I just said, Simmons mattress company, manufacturing mattresses. We need more manufacturing jobs, more skilled jobs that students can be able to, you know, create a skill and develop and be on that job long term, even if it's not something in they field that they graduated for, but at least give the college students an opportunity to, you know, at least join the workforce until they find out exactly what they want to do in life. I'm quite sure if you graduate and you run across a job that's paying $17, $18 an hour, you'll want to stay here in Dougherty County.
Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor, for your response. Right. You may proceed, Mr. Rosen.
Well, you say $28,000 getting out of college. That's better. Things have gone up. I only made $24 getting out my first year. So, but anyway, I know that times have changed, and that's still not good money for a college graduate. You know, again, I think to develop the downtown in a way that provides entertainment and recreation, I think is a way that to get industry for youth. It's a real tough one, you know. How do you? But I know this. We're not going. The mayor's done a really good job. One of her pledges was to be a cheerleader for Albany, and she's done a good job being a cheerleader for Albany. But she's in Albany too much doing it. I think we need to go outside the boundaries of the city and the county. We need to find youth and young guys fresh out of college with new ideas and send y'all out into the nation and beyond as ambassadors for Albany, Georgia. You certainly know what's going on here. You can go. You can talk to youth on a youth level, you know. So that's a great job.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosen, for your response.
The Economic Development Commission is the process and the entity that we have in place for helping us to bring jobs in. Certainly, we want to keep the college students here. And so I would continue to advocate and to work with the EDC in order to bring in new and a variety of jobs. All eligible people, people who are looking for jobs, have an opportunity to apply for the jobs that are available. I would certainly encourage our college students to apply, and we are, as I said before, we are going at additional industry for this city.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're now going to accept the next audience question before taking the questions from the sticky note. You may proceed.
Thank you. Am I able to answer 2 questions?
Yes, ma'am. You may
Okay.
proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Ms. Green from the Georgia State NACP over the Albany Dougherty NACP. And my question is to Mr. Taylor and Mr. Rosen. What are your qualifications, and again, why should we trust you with the job by bringing jobs into Albany, Georgia? And I believe I mentioned and heard that you say you was building the job outside the region. Why not bringing the job here in Albany, Dougherty? The people need jobs here, not outside Lee County or either the other areas. We are focused with the job here for the people. This is the main area needed to be addressed, not with the job outside the city.
Yeah, let me address that question real quick. Like I say, regionalism, you know, for example, you know, if we don't have the terrain and land to bring a mass produce job here in Dougherty County, Terra County is a rural area, it got plenty of good land, farmland. If we just so happen to run across a job of that nature, dealing with produce or either, what I'm looking for, processing, like a processing plant of that nature, you know, I'll be a strong advocate to put it in that region, you know, because like I said, it's residents come here every single day and take our jobs. All these jobs here in Dougherty County is not provided to residents in this county. So if we help build up not only our county and our region, it'll be an economic boom for everybody. You know, just make it plentiful of jobs, opportunity, and that's what I want to bring to the table, to bring an opportunity to be able to have a job.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
Taylor.
Mr. Taylor.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, they have plenty of buildings here in Albany, Georgia. They go Bob's Candy. They go the other facility.
Yeah.
Why not bringing jobs here in Albany, not outside the city? You have people that cannot be able, they're not able to travel outside the city.
Yeah,
so
I said if I'm not able.
Okay, I'm now going to interject.
Okay.
I'm now going to allow Mr. Taylor to rebuttal with a 1-minute time period. You may proceed, sir.
Okay, yeah, like I said, if we clarify what I said if I'm not able to bring jobs here into Dougherty County, I'll be able to be a strong advocate to put it in the outskirts, because people do commute back and forth every day to take our strong, robust jobs here in Dougherty County. So I want to be able to give our generation the opportunity to be able to pick a job, or if it's not in Dougherty County, we can have it in the neighboring county instead of letting it go to Atlanta or go to South Carolina.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Rosen, I'm now going to give you the opportunity to respond.
And to condense your question, we're talking about what have I done to bring jobs and what can I do, what do I know about the matter?
No, the question was, why should we trust you? And what are your qualifications to bring the jobs here in Albany? We are not talking about the jobs outside Albany, Georgia.
Right.
We want to know, what are you planning on doing with the people that are out of the job in Albany, Dougherty? What is your plan to be able to have the middle class that are not able to travel outside the region in order to get to those jobs?
Right, right. Well, first of all, I bought over 75 houses and 2 commercial buildings downtown. I have a third that's not been touched, but the 2 buildings, just for instance, downtown that were shuttered and fully renovated, I spent over $300,000 of money to renovate those. We employed roofers and painters and electricians and plumbers, and these were local businesses that benefited from my vision to bring to Albany the State Theater and that avenue of of entertainment, so to speak. I was going to be, had I been allowed by Attica and the city, I would have been able to bring dozens and dozens of jobs to run the zip lines and the nature trails and the canoe rides, more back to your jobs for the youth, and you can see those, your type of age group at the Stone Mountain doing that right now, manning it. But I've created jobs here locally, and plenty of them on the various dozens of roofs, dozens of air conditioners that I have to put in place and keep maintained.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rosen. At this time, Ms. Hubbard, you may proceed with your response.
Yes, okay. I have one more question.
I
was just talking to two at the time.
Ma'am?
I was just talking to Mr. Rosen and Mr. Taylor at the time.
Okay.
And
You may proceed.
Okay,
can
the
I ask
second question is, from all of the candidates, what are your thoughts about the pipeline that's coming through Albany, Dougherty? And what are you for it? Are you against it? What are you opposing with this pipeline coming through Albany, Georgia?
Thank you. I would like to begin with Ms. Hubbard.
Okay. I have gone on record as saying that I was against the pipeline, as has been sanctioned and voted on by our commission. We have sent letters to FERP and to the Environmental Protection Agency, the state agency, saying that we are against the pipeline. We have supported our constituents who live in the area, saying that we are against it.
Thank you. At this time, you may respond, Mr. Rosen.
Well, I think that this is one of the biggest indicators of the lack of vision and the lack of leadership. From what I'm told, it's impossible to stop this now. We're in the 11th inning. It's been done. It's been approved at every level of government. And our community got against it way too late. It should have been, when it was first mentioned years and years ago, is when that we should have put out the small ember. But now it's a raging fire out of control, and it's done. And, you know, almost 2.5 years ago, I met with Denora Hall, one of the biggest opponents of the Sabal Trail, and acquired a couple of her signs. It was even on the State Theater marquee, no pipeline. And this was over two and a half years ago. So that's the time to stop it, not in the last 2 months of an election year. But that's done, and now we need to make some lemons out of that, make some lemonade out of those lemons. And we are running our gas pipe from Texas right now at full capacity, and we would not be able to grow industry without being able to supply them with gas. So thankfully, I'm told by a city commissioner that we're going to get 2 taps that can provide a substantial amount of gas from the pipeline, which will ensure our growth. Instead, we were not able to fuel an industry in the first place. So I think that is an area now of opportunity for us, and we should move forward.
Thank you so much. Mr. Taylor?
Well, I went on the record. I went to like
You have to proceed,
3 or 4 pipeline meetings, and I opposed the pipeline. And my question that I proposed to a state representative, I don't want to say his name, that I told him that this is a state issue. What is the governor's stance on this? And we failed yet to hear anything from our governor, because the energy group Spectrum is backing this up. And of course, everybody knows Spectrum donated to Nathaniel Deal campaign last year. So it's not just a local issue, it's a state issue in which our local elected officials should have took charge with the lead and got together with our state representatives and senators and congressmen to pretty much, I would say, boycott at the General Assembly. Now, he did say that next time he goes to the General Assembly that he will address it to the governor, but I have yet failed to hear something, you know, of that nature. But not only that, it's just kind of sad that a pipeline is getting ready to come through here. I hope not, but appear to be getting ready to come through here, and we still having an issue with our natural gas resources here with Dougherty County. And to piggyback on about the job situation, I mean, that's the mentality that we live in with right now, is try to stay confined and build up a wall around Dougherty County when we got to expand and become a power. And if you live in Atlanta and you stay in Marietta, of course, you're going to commute an hour to 2 hours to get a darn good job. So what's 20, 30 minutes down the road if you want to see this county expand and grow as a regional power?
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, ma'am, I'm now going to have to interject because 2 questions were asked. We're gonna, however, at this time, we're now gonna have to proceed because we also have another forum for the city commissioners. Additionally, I have several questions up here that I have not been able to ask because of the wonderful questions that have been presented by the audience. So at this particular time, sir?
I will be in the back to answer any additional questions that anybody
Additionally,
have for me.
yes, that's the announcement I was about to make. I would like to ask the candidates, I'll be there in one moment. I would like to ask the candidates to please stick around for additional questions that other audience members would love to ask. At this particular time, it is now 5:58, and we have to begin the city commissioners forum as well. Before we proceed, I'm now going to ask each candidate to state their platform and also introduce themselves. You ready? At this particular time, I would like to begin with Roger Marietta. You may proceed.
Can you hear me okay like that? Okay. Is that working? Can you hear me now? Oh, wow. I like that. Okay, my name's Roger Marietta. I'm the City Commissioner for Ward 4. And I'd like to present the 6 priorities of our City Commission as we've agreed on. You've heard some discussion about we don't have a plan, we don't have a vision, and I think from my perspective, we do have a plan. We do have priorities that we've listed that we follow religiously. And I'm going to start from the bottom, the number 6 one, and move up. The number 6 one for the city is to improve our financial condition. We've built up our reserves, we've streamlined our workforce, we've reduced taxes, and you know, I myself have worked, and I know the other commissioners have worked to reduce the proposed utility increases, especially the stormwater increase of the last year. We've also improved service delivery. That's number 5. And number 5, I think the big thing that improved service delivery that we can say honestly that we're responsible for is the 311 system. The 311 system allows a customer to be the boss and order a fix for a pothole or a garbage pickup. And that 311 system has been improved and modified. You can do it online now. You can check the status of an address where you've called in something. And so it really puts the citizen back in charge. Number 4 is infrastructure development. We've seen several SPLOSTs, and the SPLOSTs are used to improve our infrastructure from resurfacing roads. I just looked at the list of the roads that I've gotten resurfaced that are coming up in my ward, and it's citywide. And I have to say that to the young lady from East Albany that they inexplicably started with the East Albany side, so their roads are going to get resurfaced first, but that's okay. The sewer lines need reworked, and that's a big expenditure, and we've been plugging away at that with SPLOST funds and the sewer reserves, and that's why we have so many reserves under the sewer system, because when a break occurs, it's a large expenditure, but there's a bigger expenditure that needs a bigger fix. And we don't want to have to do a bond for hundreds of millions of dollars, so we're trying to keep it affordable. Same with our stormwater. We fixed some things, and we're working on the bigger picture, but it's a big price tag to fix stormwater. We still have flooding in the city and the county, but it's something we have got to fix. Alley paving, resurfacing of streets, those are minor but important infrastructure things. And there's probably more that I didn't point out. Marketing the city for the future, you know, I feel like we need to do a better job with that. I've made suggestions to the EDC about our job creation fund to have that splashed across a banner, and I think we ought to do more for marketing the city. I try to think positively and talk positively about the city, and of course I feel positively about the city. And you know, it's a river town, which a great resource that's coming through the middle of it, the Flint River, and we need to market that more and emphasize that more and build some recreational activities around that. But we have so many things to be thankful for and so many blessings. And our tourism industry You know, a lot of people sort of poo-poo that, but you know, the reality is that that's growing as an industry, and it's over, according to our estimates, over 200 million. How much time does that mean I have? Okay.
1 minute remaining.
Economic development, you've heard what I've said about that. Safe community, this is a #1 priority for me. Safe community means everything from pedestrian crosswalks, traffic calming, the pipeline, that's a threat to our safety. But I'm proud of our police and our fire. I think they're the best in the area, and I think they've worked hard to provide the basics of public safety and good fire service and excellent policing. And our crime rate, according to the police chief, is at a 25-year low, which I really am happy about that. And we've given the police the tools that they need as a force multiplier, new equipment, new technologies. As the mayor said, we've raised their pay, and we need to do more. There's some inequities in that pay raise that I'm working on resolving. So those are our top 6 priorities. And as the mayor said, you know, we have to support the Marine base, we have to support the P&G, M&M bars, and other big industries.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Chad Warmington, and I want to really get into my 3 areas of my platform and kind of weave in an introduction of myself at the same time. The word jobs, economic development's been used a lot up here. I talk about jobs from a totally different standpoint. I'm a product of jobs in Albany. I went to Georgia Tech in 1995, gave a resume to Procter & Gamble, got a phone call from Procter & Gamble, came down here. During a time of major expansion for Procter & Gamble, I was offered a job as a mechanical engineer. I talked to a young man in the audience that's studying pre-engineering here, was able to kind of explain some things to him about what to expect and some options. But really, I'm a product of the job expansion environment that can happen in Albany, because it was happening in '95. Merck was expanding, Procter & Gamble was expanding, Cooper Tire was expanding, and we've been there. We've done that before. However, we're in a time now where economy is down, jobs are down. You know, so that's what brought me here. That's what brought me here. I met my wife, was able to marry her, got 3 young kids, all that because of an opportunity that came through a job. Now, we talk about specifics. I want to give you a couple of very specific things tonight because I'm a very action-specific person. And so when we talk about economic development, we talk about jobs. This morning, we had a disaster in the city commission meeting. We had a simple task of trying to select one person to fill my position. I was on the Economic Development Commission. We had a task of selecting one person to fill my seat, and the meeting just went very bad, very bad. My opponent here actually voted for 2 people, still trying to figure that out. You know, were you confused, were you indecisive, or were you trying to cover both bases of the voting electorate? But even beyond that, very racial, very demeaning, just very rough meeting this morning on something that we've been talking about, economic development. And so if I were a business owner, a business person, pick up the Albany Herald tomorrow, don't know what's going to be printed, I'm going to be, wow, do I want to bring a job to Albany? That's a very specific thing that we've got to fix. I'm a very professional person. I try to speak well, try to be respectful. I'm a believer. I try to respect everyone's opinion. We cannot act like that in these leadership meetings. It's very, very degrading on our community. And we can say what we want to about the citizens of Albany, but if our leaders don't attract businesses, they're not going to come. Another thing in terms of happened this morning, Job Investment Fund. We've made one expenditure from Job Investment Fund, $200,000 to Thrush, a great company. This morning, we just took $219,000 and put it into downtown. So we just spent more money on downtown than we did on job investment. I think that sends the wrong message. Again, folks from Atlanta, pick up the newspaper, is Albany serious about jobs? Or are they serious about downtown? Now, I'm a downtown advocate. We need to do something. But don't take money from Job Investment Fund to make it happen. The second thing, that's jobs. Second thing is finances. I have a different opinion on our city finances. I think our finances are in pretty trouble. It's troubling. When you look at how we've borrowed from the MEAG Trust, even this morning, again, keep going back to this morning, our city manager said we have a budget that we're not going to meet. We have a budget in place that we're not going to meet, straight from our city manager's mouth. So we've got some work to do with money. I think a leader, a city commissioner, should be ultimately responsible for your money and realize it's your money, it's our money, it's all of our money. We are simply spending taxpayers' money, and I think our city could do a better job of managing and being accountable for finances. Utilities, that's the third thing I talk about in my platform. I think right now, our city utilities is in turmoil. I hear, if I knock on 10 doors, I'll hear from 9 people about utilities. It's the buzzword, that's what's out there. I don't think utilities has ever been a part of any of the elections leading up to right now. It's a major topic in the election. And here's the reason. It's, you know, if you peel the onion back, yeah, it's rates, but what it is, it's people's confidence. It's their trust. We talk about trust. There's so much change. I was on the utility board for 3 years, had 5 general managers, 2 charter changes. We just had another change this morning about how I think. So citizens hear that, and it's confidence. And yeah, we need to work on rates, but we need to give our citizens confidence that we know what we're doing, we're managing utilities, and we're managing it properly with a correct authority. So really, those are the 3 things. Some of that wove in my family, my work. I was on economic development, on utility board, all those kind of things. I feel like that I've got the experience, the business experience, and the knowledge to move forward and to be the city commissioner for Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you. At this particular time, I have the first question.
I'd like a rebuttal.
Okay, you may proceed with your 2-minute rebuttal.
All right, just 2-minute rebuttal, that's all I need. First of all, I just wanted to say, you know, we're here at Albany State. I've always supported Albany State, and I'm rebutting something that my opponent said at another forum, and also something that was said here tonight at the mayor forum, that $200 million was wasted downtown. The reality is that $153 million of that was used to rebuild Albany State. And I don't think that's a waste. I think it's a slap in the face to the community at Albany State here, and that they ought to apologize for that remark. Now, secondly, the EDC appointment, again, my opponent's right, there was a little bit of race in there. You know, I supported Jason Gaunt, who lives down the street from me, and he didn't get enough votes, and he's here tonight, and I apologize for that. I voted for him. But then when the way our city commission works, we move on to the next candidate, and the next candidate was African American with an engineering degree and experience with NASA. And I voted for him because that was, the nomination's been closed, and that was a parliamentary maneuver. So I don't have to apologize for that. And finally, the revolving loan fund, I didn't vote for that, but it does pay for itself at a higher interest rate than the current job creation fund that's sitting in a bank earning like 0.6% interest.
At this time, you may proceed with your rebuttal. 2 minutes.
Yes, certainly that was an unfair accusation to weave Albany State into your comment there, Roger. I simply made a comment in one of the forums that I think Mr. Rosen, who's left, has brought up the $200 million number. I don't know where it came from. I just simply referenced it, that's been the term that's been used for downtown, never an insinuation that any money should or should not have been used over here. That was unfortunate to say that. But the thing I keep going back to with jobs is we got to be focused. We got to be laser focused on jobs. And all the little skirmishes and the discussions and the accusations and all that happens at our top level leadership, every time that happens, people are watching. People are reading the paper. Economic development is watching. Our citizens are watching. And if we're not laser focused on jobs and growth and opportunities for our citizens, it's not going to happen. And I think that's been the downfall, I believe, for my opponent, is having that focus. Now, it's one thing to say, I voted against something. I think one of the keys of a leader is influence. And so I don't think we get a pass just because, say, I voted against it, I voted against it, I voted against it. What I expect of leaders is to bring people along with them and have peers. There's 7 people on the commission. And so just sitting in a meeting and say, I vote against it, okay, so I'm done. That's not the way you lead. You lead by having conversations outside the meeting, before the meeting. Hey, where are you at? What are you thinking? Can we compromise? Can you come my way? I'll come your way. And you kind of come to a consensus as a group, and you put your best foot forward, and you make a vote, and you bring people along with you in terms of influence.
Thank you. Final rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Because I just want to say that, you know, I do think it's fair to defend Albany State here, because in my commission a few years ago, what?
Could you please adjust your microphone, sir? Thank you.
At the commission meeting a few years ago, I took a very unpopular stance with the business community and voted against a liquor store in front of Albany State. And it turns out I was vindicated, because the operator of that liquor store was #1 in the state in misusing EBT cards. And I supported Albany State and their alumni on that fight. And I have heard my opponents say that $200 million, what happened to it? Well, he doesn't know because he came here after the flood. He lived in Lee County until 2009 next to my buddy up on Willow Lake Road. And he's just recently moved into our neighborhood and claims to be a lifelong resident of Albany, and he attacks me. My record is very good for my ward. We've kept a low crime rate, and we've provided a lot of jobs. I've supported job creation in my ward by helping industries like the new Walmart, Thrush, the new restaurants, and yeah, it's a small scale, but it's a start, and I feel very good about that. We have the only active housing program in Albany is out in the West Albany and Southwest Albany. So I've supported the builders and the businessmen with whatever I could do. Now maybe it's just a vote for a rezoning, or maybe it's just a vote for an easement for a sewer line, but that's what all they needed from me, and that's what I voted for. So we've created some jobs, hundreds of jobs in my ward, and I voted to help other city projects as well. We voted to remove the energy tax from P&G, which said that helped them stay here, and we supported the biomass plant that's coming. We have done things for M&M Mars, the MCLB.
Thank you so much for your response, sir. You may proceed with your final rebuttal, Mr. Warburton.
Yeah, I don't know if you were listening to me, Roger. I just said I moved here in 1995. I don't know how you say I said I was a lifelong resident. My wife is a lifelong resident. Let me say that. She's a third-generation Albanian. Her granddad, her dad, and her. Mary Acres, Westover High School. So maybe that's where you got confused. I moved here in 95. I purchased my first house in 96 on Whispering Pines. You know where Lowe's, some of you may remember, Lowe's over on Meredith. I remember when Lowe's burned down because it was behind my house, right there on Whispering Pines. We did move to Lee County. Our family was expanding, so we built a house in Lee County. However, that's right when I purchased my business. I left Procter & Gamble, purchased my business, and we said we want to move back to Albany. So we moved back to Albany on Pheasant Drive. Get all these dates out there. We lived there for 9 years. We just sold our house. We're building a house on Whippoorwill. We're in a rental house, and so we've been right there in Lake Park the entire time. So I don't know where those comments came from. Now, in terms of Albany State, you know, I don't know why we keep bringing Albany State into it. Albany State's never come out of my mouth. But certainly Albany State has a huge impact on this community. My brother was in town this weekend, and we came down to homecoming. Huge amount of people downtown with the parade and the football game and all that went on, and the vendors and all that kind of stuff. Great impact to our community. Even though I wasn't here in 95 or 94 flood, my wife was here in 94. She tells me stories of wading in the waters, helping folks. The church that we attend housed a lot of folks during those times. And so even though I wasn't here in 94 for the flood, my wife and her family were very instrumental in helping Albany overcome that disaster that happened.
At this particular time, I'm now going to proceed with my first question from the audience. At this moment, well, that was brought to me on a sticky note. This question is directed towards Mr. Warburton. However, at this particular time, all other candidates are welcome to respond to it as well. This question is for you, sir. It states, while sitting on the Water, Gas, and Light, I guess, commission or board, how many times did you vote to raise utilities?
Okay, very good question. And I actually have my data here. I went back in my records. I joined the Water, Gas, and Light in 2013. 1 month after I joined the board is when Mr. Edwards retired, and that's when instability began. He was a 30-plus year employee, had a conversation a couple times with him before he retired, and so that spring, or that May, was the first time I voted on rates. Brand new board member. And if there are board members in there, I think I see Mr. Bob and some other folks. You can rest assured that on these boards and these budgets, I asked the questions. I challenged vehicle purchases. I challenged everything to really talk about the budget. And yeah, that year we raised rates, I think 5% lights, 3% water and gas. A lot of that was due to what was going on. The rates in terms of what we were paying were going up. I am very excited to say last year is probably the thing I'm most proud about. We increased rates 0%. For electricity, 0% for gas, and water had a 1% rate increase. That was in addition to the $6 million profit that utilities had. And so I pushed, we had the meeting with the $6 million was talked about. I was the one that was the most vocal and said, what are we going to do with the $6 million? Are we going to give it back to customers? I think that was one of the questions that was asked here. Are we going to give it back in a rate rebate? Are we going to put it towards infrastructure? Are we going to put it towards whatever? But the key thing that I wanted to capture in that meeting was when utility does well, and we didn't increase rates this year because we knew how well utility was doing. So that $6 million, where's it at? Where's it at today? I know the mayor mentioned some of it was approved today, but what are we going to do with the rest of it? What's the plan? How are we going to use that to benefit ratepayers? It's one thing to make profits in utilities and move it over to central government. That's where I think we have some opportunities in terms of policies, is when utilities make profit, what do you do with it? How's it spent? Where is it put at?
However, I would like to interject and ask the question again. The question is, how many times have you voted to increase utilities? You may respond.
Well, I guess that's all in how you phrase the question. My opponent says I've raised rates 8 times. I've been on the board for 3 years. So if you take all the individual utilities, even that means I've had 9 opportunities and I've raised rates 8 of those 9 times, and that's false. I've got the data right here in front of me. There were 3 times that we had 0 increases, and then the other 6 times we're in ranges of 3%, 2%, and 1% rate increases.
Thank you. You at this time, you may proceed with your rebuttal.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I think I was present in May of 2014 when our then interim city manager suggested 2 5% increases, not all at once, but during the fiscal year. So my opponent talked about fiscal 13 and talked about fiscal 15, but he forgot to talk about fiscal 14 when the electric rates went up 10%. However, I do think that there's something that we need to talk about, and that is, where are these reserves? I don't like to use the word profit because, as I said in my opening remarks, the sewer department has to have a lot of reserves. The stormwater has to have reserves. And this is a simplistic financial analysis, but each utility has its own reserve account. And I think true enough that the light department did have a surplus or a reserve of $500,000 at the end of the fiscal year, but we've spent down those light department dollars on new infrastructure that's relevant in tree trimming to clear the lines and things like that. So I think that we need about $30 million in our reserves for water, gas, and light, or for the utility board, excuse me, and we only have a few million. So we have a lot more to build up in reserves, and I can go back and show you the minutes where everybody on the Water, Gas, and Light Commission, including my opponent, said the same thing. We need to build up the reserves. So to turn around now and say that those reserves are profit, I think is distorting the reality of how the utility operates.
I'm now going to proceed with 1-minute rebuttals. You may proceed.
10%, Roger, I have no idea where that came from. So I challenge our media, go find 10%. I have no idea. I've got my documentation of all the budgets, so 10% is a horrible exaggeration. So let's talk about profit. You know, a utility sets a budget, says, here's what we think our expenses are, here's what we think our revenue will be. At the end of the year, when the two are added or subtracted together, if you got $6 million to the positive, that's a profit. I don't understand how it could be a reserve. Now, what you do with the $6 million, that's the choice of the city commission. Do you refund it? Do you decrease rates? Or do you put it in reserves? Now, in this particular meeting I was talking about, there are no reserve policies for utilities. I was told in the meeting by our city manager that all the reserves are lumped together for the city, all together in one big reserve account. And even that account is below policy, and it was admitted in the meeting that even our city total finances do not meet the criteria that we set for ourselves in terms of policy. So I totally agree that there are no policies for utilities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Warburton. At this time, an additional 1-minute rebuttal.
I don't think I'm going to need 1 minute. I just want to direct the media to the May 2014 minutes of the Water, Gas, and Light Commission. I remember it specifically, they voted to raise the electric rate 5% and then another 5% later in the fiscal year. And that really didn't hit us until, remember the end of that fiscal year was June of 2015, and now we've started a new fiscal year. So, but I do think that we have room for improvement. And I honestly do want to and ask the utility board to review the rate structures across the board to provide relief to the citizens as much as possible.
Thank you. At this time, we're now going to proceed with our first audience question. You may proceed, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Janisha Parnell, and I had the pleasure of serving as SGA president last year, which I had the pleasure of knowing the numbers Albany State produced for the city of Albany. So as of last year, our homecoming produced a little over $4 million. And on a total year, we produced $10 million. And my question is, if we're giving this much money, why should we trust you? This is for both of the candidates.
Yes.
Trust you as our Fourth Ward Commissioner.
You may respond.
Well, I've done a good job, and I'll tell you one thing. You know, we turn around through the Albany Convention and Visitors Bureau and give grants to your homecoming planning agency to help facilitate that. And certainly we could do more, I think. But again, the Albany Convention and Visitors Bureau is funded through our hotel motel tax via the Chamber of Commerce, so they're not directly under our control. But I know they've really reached out and tried to help promote the homecoming event, understanding that it's going to create tax dollars for the city. And I think we have proven ourselves to give out grants to facilitate that event and promote that event. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the city to market itself. And as is your Rams for the Roses campaign, we'll all be just happy to see you guys on TV and in this coming January.
You may proceed with your response.
Trust is a word that keeps coming up tonight. For me, my trust begins with my wife. And does my wife trust me? Then it goes to my 3 young kids right here. Do they trust me? And then it kind of expands into the community I'm with and the people I work with, my employees. I haven't served in an elected position, so I don't have that ability to say you can trust me in an elected position. But you can certainly look at my record as a business owner, my record in terms of paying taxes and basic necessities of running a business, my family, my church involvement, those sorts of things. And so I think for us as leaders, trust is about a record. And even little things like our discussions up here, you know, who's saying trustworthy things? Who's saying things that conflict with something we just heard? Who's taking data? You know, and so trust is something that even something small as just a simple discussion right here is something that we build upon and we can take to the bank about people that we're listening to. You know, in terms of finances, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Warburton. At this time, I'm now going to proceed with the next audience question.
Good evening. Two-part question for both candidates. I believe in this community, in this nation, people are tired of politicians. All right, they're tired of the mudslinging and the accusations and all that stuff when you guys are supposed to represent the citizens. So first part of the question is, how are you going to make sure that you stay in touch and represent the citizens and really keep that connection going? And then number 2, how are you going to ensure that you make data-based decisions based on the needs and the desires of the citizens?
You may proceed, Mr. Warburton.
I totally agree. I think politician has become a negative word. I don't consider myself a politician. I was meeting with Dr. Adams earlier in the week, and he used the word statesman. He would rather be considered a statesman than a politician. And so for me, my roots go back to family, career, job, church involvement. Those are the things that define me. I'm simply running for office because of a passion and desire and see a need to do that. And so in terms for me, how do I stay in touch? I'm very active in the community. You know, you can rest assured on a Tuesday when a city commission vote happens, that Wednesday I'm going to be in people's homes. You know, my business is going into people's homes, installing products, and so I'm going to talk to them. They're going to say, "Hey, what happened yesterday?" And I'm going to be definitely held accountable from that standpoint. I'm very involved in my local church. My kids are very active in various sports, and so I'm always out interacting with folks. And so I think in terms of staying in touch, as neighborhood watches and those sorts of things for us to stay in touch as leaders.
You may proceed at this time.
All right, thank you. You know, I think staying in touch has been a hallmark of mine. We sent out newsletters in the beginning, but I found it more useful to have regular neighborhood watches, and I have more neighborhood watches than any other city commissioner, I really believe. And if it's Monday, that means I've got the first Monday of the month, I've got 2 neighborhood watches back to back, and I usually generally meet with 30 or 40 people in those venues. The third Tuesday, we have another neighborhood watch. The fourth or third Thursday, we have another neighborhood watch. And then there's some neighborhood watches that have go in and out that I've met with on a regular basis. And then I'm proud of using technology to keep in touch. We pioneered the Lake Park Neighborhood Watch Group to email people, and that kind of died out with Facebook. And now Facebook is there, and we use that as a big neighborhood watch in Lake Park and Mary Acres. And that's where I was proud to announce that we arrested the Lake Park burglar today, and everybody was very helpful because they contributed to that.
Thank you so much for your response, sir. At this time, we're now going to proceed with the next audience question.
Hello, my name is Kenny Florence, and my question, I kind of should have asked it before the mayor was here. I'm trying to understand our type form of government in Albany. For example, when our city manager left, we had to get an interim city manager, and we got 3 assistant city managers. I'm trying to understand why we get Tom Berry instead of getting Wes Smith or any other assistant managers. I'm trying to understand that system, how we're working that.
You may proceed at this time, sir.
Well, Kenneth, you know, we have a city manager, professional city manager type system where the Board of Commissioners only makes policy. And, you know, sometimes in those situations where you're dealing with personnel, we have to do that in an executive session. And those issues, you know, and I agree with you that Wes Smith would have been fine, Phil Robertson would have been fine. And, you know, those are things that we talk about in the executive session, and then we have to come out and stand behind one person that the majority had a consensus on. But I think we've been blessed that have good people. And, you know, you can criticize Al Lott or James Taylor or Tom Berry or Sharon Subadan, but when you look beneath them, we have a whole lot of good people like Jason Gant and Phil Robertson and Wes Smith and Stephen Collier, and I could just go on and on and on. We have we're blessed with a lot of good people that keep this city running on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you so much for your response. At this time, we're now going to proceed with the next audience question.
I don't get to answer that?
You have a rebuttal?
Yes, I do.
At this time, however, rebuttal will be 1 moment,
Okay.
1 minute, excuse me.
I think the question was asked to both of us, but in terms of rebuttal, our city government is a strong city manager government. So our city commissioners elect that they vote on a city manager. What you're referring to, Kenneth, and I agree, this is where it's confusing to citizens, is our city commission brought in Tom Berry because we had a problem. We had a financial problem. We have MEAG trust that we're using. We are overstaffed in terms of number of employees. And so that's what you do when you bring in an interim. You bring an interim in to come in and kind of do the dirty work, and then he's gone. And that's what he did. And let's just be honest. Now, my opponent disagreed with some of the things that Tom did. That's fine. We all disagree with different things. But we brought in an interim to take care of a problem. We took care of some of the problems, but we still have, as I said even in my opening statement, we still have some other financial issues we got to take on. But that's why that's confusing, why he was brought in to do that.
Thank you so much for your response. Also, I would like to apologize. He was, in fact, permitted 2 minutes, not 1 minute for rebuttal. Thank you. At this time, next audience question.
My name is Kyle Brown. I have a quick question for you all. I just wanted to know, since you guys said y'all was over money and things like that, what type of investments would y'all be willing to make or allocate for, you know, education here at Albany State? And what type of investments or training would y'all be willing to, you know, allocate for students? That way they can be, you know, financially stable and aware of these type of things that you're discussing, you know, and not uninformed when it comes to having an event like this.
I'll go first. You know, certainly I think it's to the city's best interest to support all of our education. You know, I know through Splosh, a couple things were approved. I know Darton got some roads paved around their campus. There's actually a groundbreaking or something coming up for Albany Tech. They're going to get a pedestrian bridge over Slappy. And so a lot of those funds come from the city, and I think we need to continue to look for opportunities to put money into those institutions. You know, here recently, the Lieutenant Governor was down to talk about some new initiatives for our Dougherty County school system. And I think it was interesting that AT&T was the first one to hand a check to Butch Mosley for the Dougherty County School new initiative they're doing with high schools. I think, why wasn't Albany? Why wasn't our utility department? Why wasn't our telecom department, who's in direct competition with AT&T? Why didn't we think ahead and say, let's do something bigger than our competitor and really put our money where our mouth is and really plug into our Dougherty County school system. One other thing is the telecom upgrades, the pads that the kids are using now in the school system. All that happened through Water, Gas, and Light. Our telecom department, Jason, we keep mentioning Jason's name. Jason was one of the key people that got the behind the scenes fiber and all that together to connect all the schools so that the kids can have these devices. And that's something that didn't get a lot of press, it wasn't talked about, but it certainly happened behind the scenes, and that's one of the key things that made that program successful for our school system.
You may proceed.
I think it's funny how my opponent likes to take credit for my work, but the SPLOST projects, I led that for Albany Tech, Albany State, and Darton. And I also was on the city commission, and still am, when we voted to approve the fiber optic network, and also the College and Career Academy. I have worked closely with the Lieutenant Governor and State Senator Freddie Powell Sims to work on that, and I've been to those meetings and of course I am a state employee at Darton State College, and I do know how the university system is funding, and the most that we can do as a city is to help with the SPLOST projects, to help with pedestrian safety, and we did that in a previous SPLOST with Albany State as well. And so we do whatever we can to support Albany State, whether at one time we put forward a SPLOST project to help with the stadium, and I think that's been completed. But we try in every instance to support one of the big economic engines of our communities, which is Albany State, $160 million a year, Darton, $137 million, and Albany Tech, around $125 million. That's their economic impact on our community. So anything we can do that's legal, we do, and when we're asked by the presidents of those institutions. And one other thing that I'd like to take a little bit of credit for before my opponent does, and that is this: we're trying to set up a college center downtown where we would provide the infrastructure, and it would be like a dormitory and college classroom and office space that would be shared with Albany State, Darton, and Albany Tech, and it would bring the universities all downtown to help boost downtown, but it would also be a collaborative effort to work with all colleges in the area.
I am going to provide a rebuttal at this time. You may proceed.
I don't understand who Roger's listening to. I did not take credit for any of those SPLOST comments I made. When I said we as in Albany, if I use the word we, I do not take credit. If anybody gets credit, sure, Roger and the administration for having those thoughts. But again, we're putting words in, he's putting words in my mouth. I did not say I take credit. I had nothing to do with the SPLOST programs. Those are obviously voted on by all of us. So if anybody gets credit, the citizens get credit for voting and approving it. But certainly no credit was desired here for any of that.
At this time, Mr. Marietta, any rebuttal?
No, I think the citizens do deserve credit for the SPLOST, and we'll have another one coming up in 2016, and I urge you all to voice your opinion on which project should be given the highest priority.
Thank you. I'm now going to proceed with the next audience question.
Thank you for being here. This is my second City Commissioner forum, and I just want you both to know that I vote character most of all, and so I would like this answered just the facts, because I feel like there's a lot of undermining here, and I want my girls to see that politics can be a good thing and not a fighting thing. So with that in mind, and note that other people are probably looking at character as well, I need to know, Mr. Marietta, I'm going to ask you first because you've been in the position. you talk about your 6 things. What are your plans for fixing the utility bills? Because I, for one, have a budget every year, and I just put the same amount from the utility bill from last year. And the past 4 months, my bill has been over $100 more than it was last year. That's with me at home all day with my kids homeschooling, sweating because I've bumped up the AC, done everything. I've got energy efficient windows with no tax advantage. I've done all this stuff to prepare my house to be more energy efficient, and yet my bill is way over $100 to $200 more a month, which is outrageous. So what is your personal plan? Not things that have happened in the past or what your opponent might be doing. I want to know from your word of mouth, what is your plan if I vote you in November 3rd, the next day, what are you doing for my utility bills?
You may proceed.
Thank you for that question. You know, about a month and a half ago, I gave the mayor a letter asking that the city water, gas, and light utility board review their rate structure, and they're in the process of doing that. They're not done with it, and that's certainly something that is affecting me and everybody else. The same issues. You know, I put my air conditioner up to 78, and in this wintertime, I put the heating down to 68. But I certainly empathize with you, and that is a critical thing we need to keep pushing at. I also have emphasized, and you know, as a commissioner, you got 1 vote, but I have emphasized, and I think I'm building some coalitions on the city commission, not only to do that, but also to increase the assistance we give for low-income energy assistance. And I've advocated time and time again to increase the HOPE fund, which is our, right now it's only $60,000 a year for those people that just can't pay their utility bills. Because one of the problems with our utility bills being so high is the poor people just get their power turned off and they get racked over the coals for high fees and cut-ons. And I just got a text, a friend of mine couldn't pay his bill on time. He got 2 late fees and a $30 cutoff fee, and he didn't even have his energy cut off. It was just a billing mechanism that they use that, and I think we need to look at that a little more tougher and roll those things back. But it's not just your electric bill. You know, I certainly agree with the concept that we could reduce our water rate more. And I think we ought to look at the issues that people have brought up about stormwater. You know, it was, as the mayor said, a federally mandated program, but I think we need to reevaluate how we're using that money and whether we're making the best use of that money. We may be able to reduce it.
You may proceed.
Yes, what I would specifically do, let me kind of give us a history lesson. For 50 years, Water, Gas, and Light was run by a utility commission. It was appointed by the city commission, but they were pretty much over here by themselves. It was citizens on the board. You know, they made decisions. Now, was it perfect? No. Was there some opportunity? Certainly. What's happened in the last 3 years is that pendulum has completely swung the other way to where now the utility board has no authority. They're almost just an advisory board. And even if you read the Albany Herald, some meetings that happened yesterday. So what I would do right off the bat is we need to figure out the structure. If you don't have a structure, you're going to keep having this. It was them. They're working on it. No, I sent a letter, and no, I want this, and they're doing this, and they're. You need a clear structure that says, I have a utility board. Yeah, they're under the authority of the city commission, but here's their job. Here's their responsibility. Everyone on the utility board, in some form or fashion over the last year or two, has communicated, what's our job? What do you want us to do? What are we meeting every month for? What are we meeting 2 times a month for? What do you want us to work on? And so if that structure were clear, we'd have a utility board that's focused on driving down cost, increasing revenue, and they're not called into politics, they're not called into all the other stuff. They're purely focused on utilities, and that's their job, is on utilities. And so I think the structure is the thing that's broken right now. Even this morning, yet another change was city manager was given a lot more authority this morning. Not saying that was wrong, not saying that was bad or good. It's another change. And now for citizens, you know, you're like, well, who's making? Is it the city manager? Is it the board? Is it the city commission? Is it the mayor? Who's? And right now it's very, very unclear. It's very unclear. Nobody has been able to communicate what the actual structure is, who's accountable for what, and who's doing what. And so that would be what I would tackle first.
Well, I'd like a rebuttal.
At this particular time, I'm now going to permit a 1-minute rebuttal, and then you may proceed with another follow-up question.
And I hope you noticed, you know, I spoke to the future specific issues, specific utility rates, and my opponent talked about the structure of the utility board. And let me just say that I think the other day he criticized my vote for Reverend Gary Sanders, who's an African-American minister, to be on the utility board that lives on the east side, because I felt that too many of our utility board members were on the west side, and actually under Georgia Power, where they don't really have a vested interest in keeping our electric rates low in Albany, which is under Water, Gas, and Light. So you can't have it both ways. The main thing we have to focus on is not the past, which my opponent just went after 50 years of history, but the future, and the future is we have to focus on lower utility rates. We have to focus on making it more affordable for our citizens. And my specific proposal is the Walmart proposal to lower our electric rates. People will use more, but will still be revenue neutral.
Thank you. At this time, you may proceed with your 1-minute rebuttal.
Yeah, so there's an old saying that says if you find a fence, before you tear it down, you might want to say, well, what's the fence there for? And so I certainly wasn't living in the past. I was trying to give a perspective of, for 50 years, this is how we got to where we're at today. It ought to be a history we're proud of. Whoever our forefathers that came up with a utility, that our city should own a utility, was a tremendous idea. I mean, trust me, our general government depends on utilities financially. So that was a great thing. And so we got to where we're at today. The pendulum has swung. I think between the two pendulums, between Water, Gas, and Light being in total control, City Commission being, we need to find the happy medium. I think we need to get a task force, a group of citizens, the board themselves, the City Commission together. We need to figure that out. I think that's what's making our citizens uncertain. I mean, I was at a restaurant yesterday and a lady was asking me about budget billing, and her question was, who do I call? Do I stand before the City Commission? Is it the board? And just uncertainty, even in her voice and in her question that she asked.
Thank you for your response. At this time, you may proceed with your follow-up question.
Well, I get why you said the history. That makes sense. It helps us understand. And I get that you want to fix the structure. And you said lower the bills. Everybody's saying lower the bills. I want to know how you're going to lower the bills, because you've been sitting in the office and I've been dealing with these high bills. I want to know specifically come November 4th, what is Roger Marietta going to do? I get that you're not in the commissioner seat yet and you're going to deal with structure, and I appreciate that. What are you personally going to do to lower my bills? I love the fact that you care about the poor. That's great. But I'm middle class who's working, and I can't afford to enjoy Albany and give money back to Albany in entertainment and fun things because of my utility bills. What are you going to do for me, who's paying my bills, and they're being doubled practically?
Well, just as I said, you know, I proposed the Walmart pricing for electricity, which would benefit you. And
what does that entail?
That would involve lowering the actual kilowatt. You know, before the Water, Gas, and Light Board raised utility rates back in 2014 that ended, that took effect and ran until June 30th of this year. And the new rates that came in that were lower were under our control more, under the utility board structure. But those rates were 4.7 kilowatts for the first 4.7 cents for the first 6,500 kilowatts. And then once you go over 6,500, then it jumps up to 7.7. And my letter to the mayor and to Stephen Collier was to drop that down, experiment with it a little bit, drop it like a penny or two, and see if that comes out to be revenue neutral, because I think it would be. Those that would want to use more would use more, and it was a very specific proposal for electricity.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, I'm now going to allow Ms. Warburton to respond.
Yeah, so
1 minute rebuttal.
I'm really unclear about the Walmart proposal. What I would say about that is who in the city of Albany, beyond Mr. Marietta, agrees with that? Obviously, a letter was given to the mayor. Does she agree with it? Stephen Collier, does he agree with it? Other board members agree with it? I think that's where leadership comes into play, is when you have a great idea, is getting people on board to go with it. One example I would like to give in terms of, again, while I was on the utility board, is one of the good things that happened when we consolidated the city and the utilities is we had duplicate departments, duplicate human resources, duplicate grass cutting. I even heard the story, somebody told me one time that a mower was mowing the right-of-way and a mower was mowing the utility right-of-way, and they almost hit because they're in two different departments, two different mowers, two different costs, two different everything. And so what's happened over the last year is we've combined departments. And so there's one vegetation department, there's one human resource department, one IT department. So those things specifically have
Thank you for
reduced
your
costs.
response. At this time, I'm now going to proceed with the next audience question. We only have time for one more question. You may approach the podium, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, I want to ask you all, well, Mr. Roy, what's your name? Marietta. What happened to the $15 million y'all got in reserve? Because you know I was at that other meeting. And then I want to know about the Flint River Aquarium, because y'all giving the Flint River Aquarium $170,000, and they supposed to come up with another $170,000. So I'm wondering, well, why y'all can't just get the poor folks a free light bill for a while? Because it's our money.
Okay, so for clarification, your question is, where is the
money, the $15 million, because they ain't telling it all.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
I think I got that question. I remember you were at the Albany Civil Rights Institute Forum. The $15 million is money that comes under the utility, and it's bigger than it used to be because it includes the sewer fund and stormwater that used to be in the general fund. And the rates were raised, and I won't try to blame anybody, but they were raised by the Water, Gas, and Light Commission. So that $15 million is used to fund the cost of those utilities for the most part. And as I said earlier, if there is a reserve portion, that's used for infrastructure and forward issues. And I'll have to say that I think that there are some people that do get free light bills, the ones that don't pay, and there's about $1 million a year that the utility board eats in lost. They can't catch those, they can't get those people to pay. And we have some hope fund that forgives some people's bills. So it's not as simple as you'd like to think. And so that's my answer.
Thank you for your response. At this time, Mr. Warburton, you may proceed.
2 points of clarity. Again, back when Water, Gas, and Light was the way it was, the city was getting about $7.5 million a year. 3 years later, in today's world, they're getting $15 million. So that amount has doubled. And so my point and my response to you is that's a very good question. Why does the city continue to need more revenue? Why it appears we have a spending problem. We have a population that's declining. We have property values that haven't returned back from their pre-recession times. So we have a spending problem. And so my focus would be, how can we do more with less? How can we combine departments? How can we do that? And so that's a very interesting question that you ask, because that's one of the easy ways in our current structure. It's easy to go from $7 million to $15 million in our current structure going forward.
Thank you. At this time,
one of my questions.
Well,
let me finish.
Okay.
I want to tell you, I want to say this. The $170,000 that y'all giving to the Flint River Aquarium just to keep the fishes and the alligators cool, you can come on help us, because I'm sick and I need heat in my house, okay? And with the 6 to 8 degrees, you got to have cover on you because it's cold. So y'all need to help us citizens.
Well, let me give a chance to answer that question then.
At this time, however, with the rebuttal, there will only be one minute, okay? Thank you.
Well, first of all, the Flint River Aquarium is a tourist destination, just like the, well, we have about...
Please, no responses. Please allow the candidates to respond to the question asked.
Visitors a year. And I also want to say that, we do care about you, and if you register your illness and your condition with the Water, Gas, and Light Commission, the Utility Board, then they'll give you special treatment in terms of making sure you're warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So we do have some mechanisms to look out for people who are in a frail health condition.
You may proceed.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the River Aquarium is a quality of life thing. It is a tourism thing. It brings people to town. Now, I haven't been on the commission, so I hadn't seen the numbers to say this is what's been invested and this is what's been returned. But I think that's a very good question. If we're investing in these quality of life things, are we getting our money out of them? Back to the comment that was made about $1 million from Water, Gas, and Light, those monies weren't given to needy people. They were given to people who didn't pay their bill and we can't find them. Water, Gas, and Light carries a pretty high bad debt level. And so that amount was not meant to be a charity, or it was because people who owe money, they've left town, they probably can pay, and we just can't track them down. But there are some programs in Water, Gas, and Light that can help, that can help in terms of budget financing or helping with a bill when an issue happens, and they've got a very good program that helps with that.
Thank you. I am going to allow 2 more questions, however, 1 minute for the response. Thank you. You may proceed, ma'am.
Okay, I heard here tonight that the pipeline issue has been resolved. I'm fighting every day trying to get signatures and people to give me their addresses. I brought information here tonight hoping that I could get some signatures and some contact numbers, because we're still thinking that this is not a dead issue. So I need clarity as to whether this is a dead issue or whether it's an alive issue, because I spoke with Denora Hall on yesterday and she told me that there had been a pause as far as bringing the pipeline the route that they were planning on taking. And so now I want to know, dead or alive, pipeline.
You may respond.
It certainly is not a done deal. I would say that we're in the 9th inning of a 9-inning ball game. I mean, certainly the federal government has ruled in a couple of areas, the EPD, that, you know, all these things have come out, but it is not a dead deal. I spoke at the hearing that we had at the Civic Center, and one of the things that I did is I started looking at how is Albany different from everybody else. And I think what we've got to do is continue to present new data, new technical data, new comparisons. The city of Marietta up in Atlanta, the city of Noonan, this is Marietta sitting here, the city of Noonan, they have an electric compression station. So I made a couple of phone calls to Noonan and say, how did you get your compressor station to be electric? And so we still got some things here in the 9th inning that we can still do, that we can still change, we can still influence and still impact. But the reality of it is we are where we are. Our current leadership hasn't made a lot of progress to change it or affect it or to move it. So yeah, it's not the end of the game, but the end of the game is approaching. And so if we're going to do some things and present some new data, we need to do it now.
Thank you for your response at this time, Mr. Marietta.
Well, I agree that we're not in the 9th inning. I'd say we're in about the 5th inning. We've got 3 things coming up. The Georgia EPD, which I know you're working on, and I am too. I got about 75 signatures in my truck ready to turn over. I've got, we're working on the Georgia Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Corps of Engineers, I mean, with the Georgia office. We got a 2-month extension for more comments about the destruction of the wetlands. And I don't think, it's taken a long time for people to understand the scope of this problem. These wetlands, if they're destroyed by this trench that this pipeline puts through, that's going to affect our aquifer that all our drinking water comes from. And this is a Southwest Georgia issue, not just Albany or Willard 4. And the other issue is the FERC itself, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. I got another bunch of signatures for them too, and I've been making my comments online trying to get them to pay attention.
Thank you for your response.
I appreciate you bringing that question up.
At this time, we are now going to proceed with the final question for tonight.
Yeah, thank you for the chance to do that. I'm still a regular citizen as well. Are you guys familiar, this is for both of you, and I know you equally, so I want to keep it fair. Are you both familiar that the city in the early 20s also did a hostile takeover of the utilities board and messed it up so badly that they returned it quickly like within the next 2 years, and that you can also give it back to the utilities board? You can go back to our charter before these changes. Chad paints a grim picture of the situation over there, and I agree with him. But also, that was the first question. Are you aware of this, that you can break it, but you can fix it? So give it back to the independent commission as it was just a few short years ago. And also, can you promise that if a mayor in the near future proposes cutting the utility bills, that we could have whoever wins, can you promise that you will vote and agree to cut utility bills across the board, utility rates for power, the water bills, and sewer and stormwater runoff, cut these significantly? Should a future mayor propose these cuts, would I have your vote?
Okay,
would that mayor have your vote?
At this time, 1 minute response.
Yeah, my response to cutting rates is it a business case? You can't just arbitrarily say, cut rates, but then the city's in the red and we're losing money. So I would certainly want to sit down and say, let's look at a financial analysis. If we cut rates, how are we going to fund it? Are there some excesses that we're going to cut? And so I would be all about cutting rates. You know, for my business, you know, I've got to manage my revenue and expenses. Come December 31st, if I'm lucky, it's zero. That means I had the same revenue that I've had expenses. And so I think just a blank statement of, yes, I'll vote for a rate decrease would be disingenuous. I would like to understand that the business case. How are we going to do that? What kind of efficiencies are we going to gain? What kind of cuts? Are we going to raise revenue in another fashion, maybe going outside of Dougherty County, that can make that possible? And so I would certainly, if we can build the case and make it happen, I would vote for it in a heartbeat.
Thank you for your response. At this time, you may proceed, Mr. Marietta.
Well, Lane, I resisted and voted against changing this structure of water, gas, and light until it was inevitable, until it was over with pretty much. And then I tried to shape it to improve it. And so I'm always open to suggestions, and if we had to reshape it again, and we have learned some things from the process, and a lot of the things we didn't really have a chance to input on. They were done by the interim city manager without our even voting on it. So the other thing that you talked about, I have to say that I would vote to support rate cuts across the board. And of course they would have to be responsible and practical, but at the same time we need to reform the way we treat our customers. I don't like the way that the bill is the cutoff notice, and I've said that for a long time and it's fallen on deaf ears.
Thank you for your response. Thank you all for your participation and attendance in this candidates forum. Have a wonderful day. At this time, we're going to now have closing remarks.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it is to render my sincerest gratitude to the organizers, participants, moderators, but also to the Albany State University community, especially the Department of Political and History, Department of Political Science and History, for making this program a resounding success. I'm sure we can all agree that Honorable Mayor Dorothy Hubbard, Mr. Lane Rosen, Mr. Tracy Taylor, Honorable Commissioner Roger Marietta, and Mr. Chad Warburton all gave us a lot to think about in this next election. Thank you to all the candidates for making this event a successful one. Now to our wonderful moderator, who happens to be an alum of Albany State University. Alum of the Albany State University, we truly thank you. Let me also mention the student workers tonight, your ushers, your timekeeper, and everyone else. We truly thank you. A special mention to Ms. Sheila Jones of Albany Job Corps for making it possible for students from Albany Job Corps to attend this important exercise in civic education. I wish also to mention Dr. Arthur Dunning, ASU interim president, and his cabinet for their generous accommodation and hospitality. Dr. Baba Fame Ulufiede, chairman of the History and Political Science Department, and Dr. Kwame Dankwa, the organizer of this forum, should also be recognized. I also thank you all for your attendance, engagement, and support for this evening. Finally, the takeaway from all of this is our commitment not to forget to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. That is how we renew America's democratic ritual. Thank you, and go Rams.